Our lives are riddled with holes and on the brink of collapse.
Wow. I mean, that's quite a way to start the morning.
It really grabs you, doesn't it?
Mm.
That's the opening line from the text we're looking at today. It argues that modern society is anxious and wicked and confused for one very specific reason.
Which is,
We have absolutely no idea where we came from or what we're supposed to be doing here.
it's the ultimate identity crisis. And usually when we talk about that, we're looking at, psychology or sociology. But today, we are looking at something else entirely.
Exactly. The document we're diving into is titled Humanity and Human Life by Sue Feng. And I really need to warn everyone listening right now, this is not your standard self-help book. We are not talking about meditation apps.
No productivity hacks here. We're talking about a cosmology that tries to bridge science, religion, and mythology into a single, massive framework.
Comprehensive is, that's not even the right word for it. We're talking about a theory that includes hollow moons, pyramids that are actually biological laboratories,
Dinosaurs that were manufactured as weapons of war.
and a concept of human evolution that says we didn't just have one origin, but three distinct ones.
It connects dots that most people don't even realize are on the same page.
Yeah.
But I think it's important we state our mission here for this deep dive.
Yes.
We are exploring a highly alternative cosmology. This text is dense, it's complex, and it challenges, well, pretty much everything you learned in school.
Right. We aren't here to say it's true or false. We're not taking sides. Our job is just to report strictly on the worldviews Yufeng presents. We want to decode the internal logic of this document to see how it tries to answer the biggest questions we have.
So if you're ready to hear why your neighbor might actually be descended from a shape-shifting dinosaur, I think we should get into it.
Let's do it. So the text starts by basically clearing the deck. Before it builds its own theory, it tears down the ones we already have.
Yeah.
It calls our current explanations awkward.
Awkward is a very polite translation. It essentially argues that both Darwinian evolution and, traditional religious interpretations just fall apart under scrutiny. They're incomplete maps of reality.
Let's start with the evolution critique, because usually when people attack evolution, they go for the missing link. But this text, it goes for the process. It uses this analogy of a seed growing into a tree.
Right. It's all about the visibility of the intermediate process. Think about a seed. You plant it, you can watch it sprout. You see the stem, the first leaves, the bark forming. It's a continuous, observable flow. You can document every single micro step of that transformation.
You don't just wake up one morning and poof, the seed is suddenly a fully grown oak tree.
Exactly. But the author argues that evolutionists claim species transform, say a rabbit evolving into a monkey, over millions of years, but they can't show the step-by-step intermediates in the fossil record.
That's the in-between.
Yeah, the text asks, where is the creature that is 50% rabbit and 50% monkey? Where is that smooth transition?
It really captures that idea of a jump rather than a gradual flow. And to back that up, it brings up the Cambrian explosion.
Which is a legitimate geological mystery, by the way. About 530 million years ago, roughly 90% of the major animal phyla disappeared.
All at once.
In the fossil record, it looks sudden. The source text describes it so vividly, it's like mushrooms appearing after rain.
And the argument is, if evolution is this slow, gradual process of random mutation, how do you get a global explosion of complex life all at once? It feels engineered.
Precisely, and it pairs that with the wisdom argument. We see complex geometry in nature honeycombs, spider webs. The text asks, how does a random genetic mutation teach a spider the principles of geometry?
It implies a designer, not an accident.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so that's the science critique. It says science can't explain the suddenness or the design, but then it pivots to the Bible. And the logic here I thought was really clever. It zooms right in on the story of Cain and Abel.
This is the Cain problem. It's a classic theological loophole. So, a quick refresher for everyone. Genesis says Adam and Eve are the first humans, the only humans. They have two sons, Cain and Abel. Cain gets jealous, kills Abel. So, do the math. At this point, there should be exactly 3 people on Earth.
Right. Adam, Eve, and Cain. Just the 3 of them.
But then Cain is terrified. He tells God, everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the text just asks the obvious question, who? Who is he afraid of?
If the Bible is the story of all humanity, there is nobody else to be afraid of. The fact that Cain is terrified implies there were other people out there already.
So the source concludes that the Bible isn't wrong, necessarily, but it's local. It's a record of the Israelite people's origin, not the human species as a whole.
Which leaves this massive gap in our understanding. If evolution doesn't explain the sudden complexity and the Bible is just one local story, Where did the rest of us come from?
And that is where Xuefeng drops this entire alternative cosmology on us. And we have to start at the very, very top, the greatest creator.
And we need to be clear here. The greatest creator in this text is not, a guy with a white beard sitting on a cloud.
No, it's much more abstract than that.
This entity is described as the energy core and nerve center of the universe. It's pure, almighty consciousness, the source code of reality. But here's the interesting part. The hierarchy. The creator doesn't manage every little detail directly.
No, the creator makes gods to handle the management.
And I loved the analogy used for this process, the brick kiln.
It's so industrial, isn't it? The text says creating a god is like manufacturing a brick. You take loose energy, that's the soil. You add consciousness, that's the water or, the chemical binder. And then you calcine it in a kiln of high energy.
And what pops out isn't a brick, but an independent consciousness entity, a god.
But here's the twist that made me stop and rewind. The text claims we actually know what these gods are. Science has already seen them.
Yes, it claims that what astronomers call black holes are actually these gods.
Wait, okay, let's unpack that. Usually we think of black holes as these destructive gravity wells that just eat stars.
In this worldview, that's a complete misunderstanding. The text argues they are high-energy entities with consciousness. They are the managers of the universe, holding entire galaxies together.
That is a terrifying and awesome thought. A black hole as a sentient regional manager.
Oh.
Okay, so we have the greatest creator, and we have these gods, who are also black holes. Now we zoom in to our solar system.
And we have two main managers here, Jesus and Satan.
This is crucial for understanding the rest of the theory. If you grew up with a Christian background, you think of them as enemies in a war. One has to win, one has to lose.
But Xuefeng presents them as a unity of opposites.
Like a battery. You need a positive and negative pole to get a current.
Exactly. You can't have a functioning circuit without both. Jesus represents the sincere, the kind, the light, the ordinary. Satan represents the false, the evil, the dark, the extraordinary.
And the text explicitly says you cannot have a functioning universe without both forces. They have to balance each other out.
They're co-workers. And just like any big management structure, they have staff. We have angels.
Who are divided into two very different corporate cultures. You have the Buddhas and you have the Celestials.
The descriptions of these were kind of hilarious to me. The Buddhas are described as, well, they're kind of jerks.
The text is really critical. It calls Buddhas humans who are not human. They have supernatural powers, they can move mountains, but they're described as really arrogant. They love to show off their abilities.
Whereas the Celestials are the hippies of the universe.
Totally.
Yeah.
Gentle, pure nature lovers. They just want to dance and enjoy existence. They're the ones who appreciate beauty.
Which brings us to the Earth Project, because apparently Earth wasn't an accident. It started out as a party venue.
Essentially, yeah. The timeline is specific. 4.5 billion years ago, Jesus and the Celestials initiated the Solar System Project. They engineered Earth to be a paradise. And as part of that engineering, they built the moon.
Okay, we have to pause on the moon, because the hollow moon theory is a thing in conspiracy circles, but this text gets very, very specific about it.
It does. It states the moon is not a natural satellite. It is a huge, hollow, silver, reflective ball manufactured by the Celestials.
It's a space station.
A space station.
Oh.
Or maybe a warehouse. You know how people report seeing UFOs?
Sure.
The source claims those aren't visitors from Alpha Centauri. Those are tools, maintenance vehicles, and they're stored inside the hollow moon.
So when we see a flying saucer, it's just the Celestials taking the lawnmower out for a spin.
That's the logic.
Oh.
And the commute is short because the text claims there's a door on the moon that connects directly to a lodge for Celestials, located under the Bermuda Triangle.
Of course it's the Bermuda Triangle. Where else would it be?
It's the only place that makes sense. So picture this. 200 million years ago, Earth is engineered. It's the golden era. The Sahara isn't a desert. It's a lush forest. Celestials are down here singing and dancing. It sounds lovely.
It was perfection. But in this cosmology, perfection creates a problem. It creates jealousy.
Enter Satan.
Satan saw how happy the Celestials were in their garden, and he wanted to show off his own power. He represents the extraordinary, remember? He wanted to disrupt the status quo.
So what did he do?
About 250 million years ago, Satan sent a group of his own angels, the arrogant Buddhas, to create a counter-creation.
And this is where we get all the things we hate.
Flies, mosquitoes, rats, the pests. But his masterstroke was something much, much bigger. He created dinosaurs.
This totally reframes Jurassic Park for me. Dinosaurs weren't just animals.
No, in this text, they were biological weapons. The text calls them pests, just giant ones. They were designed specifically to destroy the beautiful vegetation and animals that the Celestials had nurtured.
So the Mesozoic era wasn't a natural epoch. It was a war zone, the war of creation.
Exactly. Jesus' forces trying to build a garden, Satan's forces trying to stomp it flat with T-Rexes, and eventually the greatest creator, the big boss, had seen enough.
So he stepped in.
130 million years ago, he intervened. He unleashed a great plague to wipe out the dinosaurs. But he didn't just kill them.
Right.
The text says he imprisoned their souls in a cathode black hole. Think of it like a cosmic vacuum cleaner or a spiritual prison.
However, and this is the plot twist that sets up everything else, not all the dinosaurs were caught.
One pair survived. The text calls them smart dinosaurs. They managed to hide under the East China Sea. They went dormant for 100 million years. And crucially, these weren't just big lizards. They had the ability to shapeshift.
Keep that in your mind. Shape-shifting underwater dinosaurs hiding off the coast of China. Because that brings us to the most controversial and complex part of this document, human origins.
Right. Most of us think either God made Adam or we evolved from apes. This text says, why not both? And also, why not a third option?
The three origins theory. This states that humanity is not one big family. We're three different product lines created at different times by different groups.
Exactly. Let's break them down chronologically.
Okay, group one, the laboratory humans.
This starts about 1.6 million years ago. The greatest creator wanted to keep the Earth busy after the dinosaur war, so he drafted a design for humans and gave it to Jesus. The Celestials, Jesus' staff, set up laboratories on Earth to manufacture them.
And these laboratories are famous.
We call them the Pyramids of Egypt.
So the pyramids weren't tombs, they were manufacturing plants.
According to this text, yes, and it was a process of trial and error. They didn't get it right immediately. They made monkeys first, then apes, and finally, they perfected the human form.
And who belongs to this first group?
The text is very specific. It says this creation batch accounts for black men in Africa, native Indians in America, and white men in Europe and North Africa.
And there's that detail about the Sahara here too, right?
Yes. Why is the Sahara a desert? The text says it was a scorched earth policy. When the Celestials evacuated their labs, they destroyed them and the surrounding environment so Satan couldn't use their technology. That explosion turned the forest into the Sahara Desert.
Okay, so that's batch one, 1.6 million years ago. Now we jump forward to batch two, and this connects back to our Bible discussion.
Yes. Group 2 are the biblical humans. This happened much, much later, only about 7,000 years ago. And here's the kicker. They were created by a different God.
A rival god.
A God who was competing with the one who made the first group. This God set up the Garden of Eden in Jerusalem.
So this is Adam and Eve.
Correct. And their descendants became the Middle Eastern peoples, Israelites, Palestinians, Arabs.
Which totally reframes the conflicts in the Middle East.
It does. The text used the conflict between Israel and Palestine not as political, but as a family affair. They're brothers created by this specific singular God just squabbling amongst themselves.
That is fascinating.
Mm.
Okay, group 3. And this is where the underwater dinos come back, the dragon descendants.
This is the wildest part of the theory. Remember those surviving dinosaurs in the East China Sea?
The shapeshifters.
Well, about 7,500 years ago, they looked up and saw the Celestials making humans. And they basically said, hey, we can do that too. So they came out of the sea, shape-shifted into human form, and began to propagate along the Yellow River.
So the source argues that East Asians, Chinese, Japanese, Koreans are actually biological descendants of these shape-shifted dinosaurs.
Yes. And the text uses this to explain culture. It asks, why does Chinese culture revere the dragon? Why do they call themselves descendants of the dragon?
It says it's because it's literal history. It's in their DNA.
Exactly. And it uses this to explain religion, too. It argues that Buddhism resonates so strongly in East Asia because these dragon descendants have a subconscious desire to return to the Elysium world. They're instinctively trying to find their way back home to a higher state.
It's a unified theory of everything. It categorizes race, myth, and religion into these three manufacturing buckets.
Yeah.
But obviously having three different groups created by rival entities, that sounds like a recipe for chaos.
It was. The text says humanity became arrogant. We focused on material things. The rival gods started fighting. The whole system started to glitch out.
So the greatest creator had to hit the reset button.
The Great Flood. 4,700 years ago.
And the mechanism wasn't just rain, was it?
No, the text describes the creator actually tilting the Earth's axis to slosh the oceans over the continents, a complete planetary wash cycle.
And again, it points out that Noah wasn't the only one with a boat.
Right. It validates the flood myths from all around the world. It mentions Dayu in China and records from the Mandan tribe in America. The survivors were scattered, preserving their distinct lineages.
So we have this incredible cinematic history. But Shufeng isn't just writing a screenplay. He's writing a guide to life. What are we supposed to do with all this information?
That is the ultimate question, isn't it? Because if you accept this story, it changes what you think you are. The text shifts gears to define the purpose of life. It says our physical bodies are just vehicles. The real us is a non-material structure.
And what's the job description for this non-material structure?
We have 3 duties. Number 1, please the greatest creator. Number 2, maintain that unity of opposites, balancing the Jesus and Satan energy within us. You have to accept that both light and dark are necessary parts of you.
And the third one?
To build and beautify the earth.
This was the part that really stuck with me, the environmental angle. The text frames us not as owners of the earth, but as staff. We're the gardeners.
Precisely. It changes the dynamic completely. If you believe this cosmology, you aren't saving the planet for your grandkids, you're maintaining the creator's property.
Right.
We are servants in a garden that was here 4 billion years before us.
And if we do a good job.
There's a promotion. The text promises that if we fulfill these duties, we can graduate to the 1,000-year world, which is a beautiful planet 960 light years away, or even higher to the Elysium world.
But if we mess it up, well, we know what happened to the dinosaurs.
The cathode black hole is always waiting.
It really shifts the ego. We walk around thinking we're the main characters of the universe. This text says, no, you're the maintenance crew. And you're barely qualified for the job.
And that connects right back to that feeling of holes and confusion we started with. The text suggests we're confused because we are trying to pick a side. We want to be all light and destroy the dark. But the universe requires both.
The unity of opposites.
Right. If you try to eliminate half of reality, you're going to feel riddled with holes.
So what's the big takeaway here? We've covered hollow moons, dino ancestors, pyramid labs. It's a lot to process.
I think the core value of reading something this radical is that it forces you to look at the scale of the narrative you live by. Shufeng is attempting to cure the fragmentation of modern life by offering a single story that equates everything.
It connects the dots, even if the picture it draws is completely insane by normal standards.
Exactly. It suggests our anxiety comes from a kind of amnesia. We've forgotten which origin story we belong to. We've forgotten we are supposed to be gardeners.
It definitely adds a layer of cosmic responsibility to taking out the recycling.
It does. You aren't just separating plastics. You are beautifying the creator's estate.
I like that. We're going to leave it there for today. This has been a dive into the cosmology of Shufeng. Whether you believe in the shape-shifting dragons or not, it certainly makes looking up at the night sky a little more interesting.
Absolutely. Keep looking up.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you on the next deep dive.